How to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. January 20th, 2020. I paid $79.98 for Jeff Nippard's Ultimate Guide to Body Recomposition and his full body program. Fast forward to February 15th, 2022, getting out of surgery. I'm in the worst shape of my life after not training for 5 months. Only thing I can think of is getting back in the gym. And my first thought is, it wouldn't be a bad opportunity to truly test Jeff Nippard's program. I dusted off the Recomposition book and read it cover to cover. I also printed out the training program and followed it to the T. I've completed the entire program and successfully started my recomposition journey. In this video, I'll share everything I did to successfully build muscle and lose fat using Jeff Nippard's program. I essentially will be sharing the most important and practical information in the book. So let's start off with chapter 1, the start. Welcome to the Recomposition series, episode 1. According to the Jeff Nippard's book, I fell under this category, detrained lifters, detrainees. The detrained lifter is anyone who has lifted for a significant period of time, built a significant amount of muscle, but then stopped training due to injury, lack of motivation, or some other impediment to regular lifting. Similar to the new trainee, the detrainee is able to build a lot of muscle very quickly, making recomposition common. But before we dive in, a lot of research and editing goes into making a video like this. I worked my ass off. Just do me one favor, if you wouldn't mind, gently press the like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe and hit the notification bar if you're new. Let's kick it off. Chapter 5, Setting Up the Diet. In the book, it's emphasized to decide your current body composition. In my case, I would definitely call it in the high body fat percentage. According to the book, if you're currently at a higher body fat percentage, entering a caloric surplus would be detrimental to your goal of recomping, since it will stunt fat loss. In this case, a caloric deficit will ensure that fat loss occurs as the progressive resistance training and adequate protein intake facilitates muscle growth. Chapter 15, Weight Training, the driving force of body recomposition. Through resistance training, your muscle fibers grow, hypertrophy. The engine of these muscle fibers are the myonuclei. In my 5 months of being bedridden, I lost all of my muscle fibers. However, my myonuclei remained. Once I was able to pick the weights back up, I could restart that engine. This is my favorite excerpt from the book about training. As such, we believe that weight training can be considered the driving force of body recomposition. To better understand this, let's use the analogy of a car. We can think of our training as the engine and our nutrition as the gasoline needed to fuel performance. The better the fuel, macronutrients, micronutrients, nutrient timing, etc., the better the performance. However, without the engine, the car simply won't move regardless of the fuel's quality. So let's talk about the diet and everything within the Recomposition book. Now, if you're a beginner and you truly want to learn about nutrition and how to go about it, that book is fantastic. Now, what I found valuable from just my general knowledge is what Jeff Nippard describes as the sliding model of protein. So we've heard 1 gram per pound of body weight to be able to maintain or build muscle tissue, right? Which some people regard as rather high. In this book, depending on your body fat percentage, he uses a sliding model of how much grams per pound of body weight that you should use. So if you're on the leaner end, right, let's say you're 10%, he gives you a range of 1.6 grams per pound of body weight. And if you're on the higher end of body fat, he gives you 1.2 grams. And we've also extensively spoken about the importance of protein. That being said, that is the most important part that I found in nutrition that was valuable to me. He also describes what carbohydrates are utilized for and what the fat is also utilized for. And he also has sample meal plans in there. Now, that being said, I worked with my coach closely on nutrition because, again, I want to step on stage next year. I want to bring the best package. So these are my macros, and I'll tell you how this also coincides with Jeff Nippard's. So when I started my recomposition, my macros were 245 grams of protein. That's 1.25 grams of protein per pound of body weight at 200 pounds, 300 grams of carbs, and 62 grams of fat. Over the 16 weeks, my protein stayed the same, so absolutely no changes, because again here, our focus is body recomposition. We need protein to be able to build muscle tissue. And my carbs dropped the most at 190 grams of carbs. and that is a change of 110 grams of carbs over the 16 weeks. And then my fat also changed from 62 grams of fat to 57 grams of fat. So very much closely to what my coach does, Cliff. He is also a proponent for a higher protein diet just because there's so many benefits. It's satiating. It's going to stimulate more muscle protein synthesis. There's more likelihood that you're going to retain your muscle tissue, the thermic effect of food, which means that your body is burning more calories digesting that food. So overall, there's so many advantages and very little disadvantages to eating a higher protein diet. So that is what I loved about the book. And again, I think that the nutrition section is excellent, and it gives you different examples of what your macros should look like depending on your scenario. But that's all I'll say about nutrition. Let's go on into training. The high frequency full body program. So what I think is really useful about the book is that you can print it out and there are sections to actually write your weight. That being said, I've used this book before. In 2020, I followed the entire program. This is how I utilized it and this is how my progress was. So before I started working with my coach closely, I wanted to get my strength back up. These are my numbers. My deadlifts went from 80 kgs to 170 kilograms. My squat went from 60 kilogram squat, right? So basically one plate on each side to 160 kilogram squat. My bench went from 70 kilograms to 110 kilograms at the peak, and my overhead press went from 40 to 55. So the least impressive improvements was with my bench and my overhead press, but generally those are my quote unquote weaker lifts. Now with a high frequency program, you're able to maximize your volume because you'll only have, for example, one chest movement on that day and then you'll go into legs. So the quality and the volume that you're able to do in that one set might give you better overall quality for the amount of tissue you're able to build in a session versus when you're doing a push-pull legs program. So for example, you give your chest the opportunity to be able to grow to the best of your ability in day one, for example, then doing chest on day 3, right, again, but also of higher quality because you're not doing those extra sets in those other 2 workouts, if that makes sense. So it's the quality of the volume and also the amount of volume you're able to do because you're not doing 3 to 4 workouts on one particular muscle group. If you're trying to just learn, if you're curious about learning, if you want to take your physique to the next level, this is a great learning platform. But where coaches like myself have benefit is that you skip having to read the books and having to try and figure it for yourself. You have more of an A to Z direction instead of going through the book, going through the body recomposition book. But I'll leave it here. I'm ranting a little bit. I'll see you guys in the next. Before I sign out, supplements. Now, myself, I keep it very simple. A multivitamin, a whey protein, and pre-workout. That's probably 90% of the supplements I've taken. If you want to pick any of these up, link in the description directly supports me if you use the code DIAMONDS10 at checkout. Now, my overall review of the book. Another thing that is emphasized a lot, which I really like about it, is sleep. And it's so important. The quality of your overall recomposition success will be determined a lot by your sleep. You do a lot of the training, the damage. Through the day, you need to be able to recover adequately to be able to take on the next day. So sleep is so important and I've made plenty of videos of those. But overall, these are great resources for learning. And if you really want to learn and you have the time, these are fantastic. That being said, I'll leave the video there. If you're interested in coaching, you can go through the application, the link's in the description. And if you did enjoy the video, leave a little like, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below to enter into the giveaway for a gift card of EHP Labs, Gymshark, or Alpha League. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.